Hello and good evening. I'm here in Berlin in the exhibition Rivals that I curated for the European Month of Photography. And on the invitation of the AI Art magazine, we are going to make a little gallery walk. So the first thing I'm going to do is to invite the AI Art magazine to come in from Mike to join me from Hamburg. And here we go. So the invitation has been done. So Mike, I'm accepted your invitation twice or 3 times. I also invited you. And have a look. I also sent you an invite. If you click there, still waiting. This is the beauty about technology. So what Instagram tells me that AI magazine can't participate. I don't know why we have this problem. Sometimes it's different versions of Instagram. I'm trying it again. Inviting the AI Art magazine. So while we are trying to solve this problem, get drinks.
Second try now is working.
Hello, Mike. Hello, Hamburg. Good seeing you.
Hello, Boris. Thank you for pulling me in, and thank you for taking the time to share this wonderful exhibition with us.
Well, thank you for the invitation. And I realized you had been here last week, having a look yourself. And what we can do tonight is possibly share it with others, and also the story, how it all developed. You know that my background is in photography for 3 years. I'm only working with AI, and I love both. But it's very important to distinguish the different approaches and mediums. And the question that I wanted to answer is, in the age of AI, what is left for photography? What cannot be replaced by AI? And also taking AI-generated images seriously. What is new about it? What can AI-generated images do that photographs can't? So the exhibition here is divided into 2 parts. One is photography and one is promptography, how I call it, to make it more clear that it's something else. And before we start looking at the single works and the different categories, do you have any question? Is there something you would like to know?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I mean, you already said I had the chance to visit the exhibition myself last week, and I was, I think it's really stunning. So we were super amazed of what you have been set up. I think it's the first exhibition that exists out there that really brings together classical photography and promptography, as you call it. And I think it's also very interesting that you see like when it comes together, when it almost clashes at this one wall. So I really love this. One thing I would like to ask you, like for everyone who's watching tonight, you defined this word promptography. As you just said, also to make sure it's not something like AI photography or something like that, but something super different. How would you define that? What is your definition of this word?
The problem that we face is that if you look at an image, you will not be able to tell if it's generated or photographed. So the process becomes very important. Photography is creating an image with light. Something reflects light into the camera. And promptography is creating something with prompts. And as you know, a prompt can be anything. It can be text, it can be existing images, it can be video, it can be sound. So for me, promptography is even larger than generating images. It's everything you generate with AI. For me, is promptography. Would also be sound, moving image, 3D, etc. And I think it's very important to distinguish it and to find a new terminology. I haven't invented promptography. It came up with a conversation, in a conversation with a Peruvian photographer, and it had been around before. And there are different alternatives. There is syntography, for example. But for me, if it's about synthesis, synthesizer, I have so many associations. Where if it's about prompting, it's very clear it's generative AI. And this is what we all do. And so finding a new term is the first step. But the second step is then to look at this new world of images and to filter what is so unique about them. What can they do that was not possible to do in the past?
This is where it really gets exciting in my in my perception. So and this is something that you can experience quite well in this exhibition. That is not just another tool to generate images that look like photos, but that you can do something completely different, that you have completely different form of expression. So I think this is when it really starts to get interesting. And yeah, I think would be great to have a look at a couple of those um, pieces when you can guide us through.
Well, I'm happy to. So the first thing I need to figure it out is to change my lens. I have been doing these things here regularly in the past, but not in a long time. So how do I swap my camera? Here we go. So, so when you enter here on one side, you have promptography. On the other side, you have photography. But as I said before, where you generate, where you create images with light in photography, there's a new approach in generative AI. You can use text. Text becomes the source of an image. And so the first image you see here comes from a writer, from Vladimir Sorokin, who is one of the postmodern writers. And as an expert with language, it enables him to transform language into images, which is something unique and which fascinated me from the very first moment I was working with AI. So in the beginning can be the word. We all know we can also work with images as material and references, but working with text is unique. And then we have a second category with 3 words. Where in photography you are working with light, you are related to the laws of nature. You can't overcome them. In generative AI, you can. You can play evolution. You can create mutations that would never be able to survive. You can create new bodies. And here we have 3 beautiful examples. For a long time, I have been a fan of Placenta Shake. So yeah, go to Instagram, follow Placenta Shake, who has been creating this anatomical plastic, but also fleshy close-ups of body parts where you don't know, is it real? Is it a model? Is it sexual? Is it attractive? Is it disgusting? I love this mix and I love this approach. So that is one of the works of Placenta Shake. And also this image by the Canadian Clint Enns is something that I really like, where any kind of mutation, any kind of mix of human body parts is possible. On the top here, we have a mutated shell, and that is a very conceptual work by Arik Weissman, who did research what would happen to the animals in the Mediterranean Sea, if there would be war around the Mediterranean Sea, how would certain weapons affect animal life and how would they mutate? So from this data, he did mutation of one type of shells. And that is conceptually a very fascinating approach and also visually. And we will talk about conceptual art combined with artificial intelligence later as well.
Yeah, and
So before we go to the next chapter, are there any questions regarding those three pieces?
Yeah, there's a question from my side or a comment, but I think we can also open up for questions from the community if there are any. So I just see there's the question: will there be a recording? Yes, we will publish afterwards. And Boris, the last piece you've just showing with the shell, I think this is an excellent example also for like using AI for things we could not do without, because as far as I understand, like it's also like simulating how life would change in the underwater world, and I think is something I've been thinking about quite a lot, especially in today's situation that we are living in. Is really amazing example of how to use it.
Well,
I have a
then we
technical
move.
I have a technical question. Is there a possibility that I haven't done that with the possibility for me to minimize my screen so we can see the art better? Because at the moment I think I'm using up 50% of the screen.
I'm not aware of. If somebody of the users know, then let me know. But right now I'm not aware of.
Okay.
Yeah, this is something that I also had in the past when I was doing regular live streams. I can go closer. So, and many of those works are also on the webpage of Photo Edition Berlin. So you can look it up, and maybe we just put the link to the webpage later to the post.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go to the second chapter, and that is something most people don't think of. It is the old joke of no animals and people were harmed in the making. It is possible with AI to generate any kind of images, transgressive images, without abuse. So no bird needs to be tortured here. No person needs to suffer. All of these images that work with transgression are now possible, just made out of your imagination. On top, you see a work of A.I.Sam, his party girl, and below you see an image of Wuh.ey, who works here with the language of voodoo and mixing a human body with a bird's body. So that is one of the footnotes, that transgression without abuse would not be possible in photography. It is possible in AI. And then
And
we
I
go
think
to...
I think to need to take the chance to mention also, as I see Sabine here, that we see a lot of people that have also been in part of our open call from the last magazine. So very nice to see these artists again.
It is, and there is a connection. Yeah, Sabine is in this show because of you guys. Yeah, and me seeing her work in the open call. So that is for me the most important chapter in the whole exhibition. AI is generated on a computer. You don't need to interact with the outside world. You can be in a dark cellar. You need the internet, you need the laptop, but then what are you generating and why? So for me, the potential of promptography is that it is an inner journey. I need to be aware, I need to be conscious of myself. Who am I? What has influenced me? What would I like to generate and why? And that work of Sabine von Bassewitz is a very strong example of a personal approach that also connects with others. So Sabine has multiple sclerosis. It's an illness where you lose the ability to control your body. And she puts that in an image. What it means to want your body to do something, but it has a life of itself and it's doing otherwise. And I found this a very strong approach of what AI should be used for, to show those inner realities. And it affected me much more than just reading a list of symptoms of multiple sclerosis. So this is why I chose her as my golden ticket for the AI Art magazine. And this is why I was happy to invite her to be part of this year again.
Yeah, and I think it's also very interesting, Boris. We've discussed about truth in the age of promptography, and I think it's a complete different kind of truth, like this about showing the truth how she's feeling and about certain things. So I think it's a super interesting example, like to see different kind of perception and truth in photography and promptography. Sorry.
Yeah, I think what you see here is a personal truth. It's
Yes.
a truthfulness to your personal awareness, your consciousness about yourself, your motivations, your drives, your conditions, your hopes. And me coming from an art background and an art school and a philosophical background, I always believe that art is the strongest when it has a very personal, not only handwriting, but motivation. When something is an expression of one single being, then it gets me somehow.
Mm. Yeah, I fully agree.
Yeah. And we stay in that becoming aware of yourself, and show another beautiful example that I fell immediately in love with. So that is from the French artist Infrarouge. And me coming from photography, I was mesmerized by that mix of having a photographic language, somehow mixing collage in it, but so cleverly done on so many levels that it just mesmerizes me. It never gets boring at looking at all the details and all the elements and levels he enabled to put into one image. And this fragmentation of two people trying to embrace each other, where you don't know, is it love? Is it desperation? Is it falling to pieces or becoming one? That is one of my favorites by Infrarouge. And he is next to a portrait of Merzmensch, where this is one of the examples of his that is very, very reduced. And it's just like this gaze of what is left to him. He's just looking at us, not saying anything. You can't even hear or smell. He's just look. Yeah, I love that a lot. And for those who somehow are based in the German-speaking countries, Merzmensch is also one of those artists that are theorists, intellectuals. He published a book about AI-generated art a year, 1.5 years ago, and has been working with AI, I don't know, for a decade. He was there in the early days of GAN models and is still working with it and has a lot of experience that he can use. And it's always fascinating talking to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I can also just recommend, if you get the chance to have a chat. It's always super inspiring.
And then we move on. And here we are in conceptual art. And this is something, maybe that we need to define first. What is conceptual art? Conceptual art is something in the past, like in the 60s, where it's about an idea, and often an idea that couldn't be materialized, that people needed to materialize themselves, or that it was just a concept. And what is possible now with AI is to put this concept into an image, to make it become alive. So there are many works that have a conceptual background. The work of Arik, yeah, with the effect of war on shells, could also be seen as a conceptual work. And what we see here is also a work of one of the veterans of AI art, Kevin Bosch, who came from photography, was there in the early days of GAN models and now working with diffusion models as well. And I do like his creations because it shows that he is able to generate something that I can't even place. What is it? That combination of parts that are flesh, parts that are technology. And what he tries to do in his ethical object series is to find out the ethical dilemma that is combined to training, and ask if he only works with ethical data. Can he create ethical images? Is there a difference? But besides all of these conceptual background, I really love this image because this is something that is visually, for me, something astonishing and new. Well, we move up. We have a conceptual work by Marat Guelman and a group of prompters called Plus Minus Comma, and that is the atom bomb as a sculpture, which is a comment on politics today and also the art world, where anything can be turned into an object, doesn't matter what it is, and to turn the atom bomb into an icon that is then presented at the Venice Biennale here is also a very black humorous comment on the art world.
Before we move on, Boris, I would be super interested in your opinion. Like when we come back for a second to Kevin's work, like have you, or what is your take on ethical data, ethical models, and the use of like the models that we have at the moment? Because I think it's very interesting to have this reference right here, right?
Well, I think it would be the right way to go to train new models on data where the creators have agreed to and opt in. This is something that I truly support. At the same time, I think the ethical discussion being made here about the training data is missing the point that the biggest break of copyright law today is happening at the end of the single user. That AI generators more and more offer options to use existing images as material or reference, and there is hardly any control possible. If this image is mine, if I got it from the internet, if it's yours, and at the end, doesn't matter what kind of famous images I use, nobody can prove it, nobody can force me to lay it open. So I think that is also something we should talk about. How are we working on our personal basis? Are we maintaining copyright law? Don't we care about it? Are we hiding our practice? Do we verbalize our position? That is something that I would like to talk more about. Let's move on.
Yeah, sure.
So we have two more works that I really, really like on a conceptual level. And we have here the great Emi Kusano from Japan that makes a comment on her own culture. And, you know, she often works with self-portraits as well. But the Japanese culture sees life in many things. In trees, in plants, and also in robots and artificial life. So it's just like a consequence to depict those artificial life forms of the future as something that has soul. And it has always been a big discussion of the lovers and haters of AI. Does AI have soul, or is it impossible? What do you think?
That's a super interesting discussion. So we have like I've been talking about this in last days quite a lot, and I'm still not sure. So I don't think we have a real soul by today. Will we ever get there? I don't know. Does AI have an own creativity? Maybe yes. And I think we might get to this point. So um, we also had a very interesting talk with Sarah Giusto, who mentioned that like in our Western countries, we are very influenced from our religion, where we think like, or where we say that we've been enabled God-like, so we cannot accept something next to us, and it's much easier for Asian cultures to accept there is something like an artificial intelligence with an own consciousness. So I think this is a question where I don't have a yes or no on it, but it's a super interesting discussion to talk about.
Yeah. Let's move to Rosenberg. You might know him as the Forbidden Toys on Instagram. I have been a long fan of him. And meeting him for the opening, I have become an even bigger fan. I love his mix-up of 70s, 80s toys, turning them around, showing a very black humor, and making fun about possibly everything. So that Eternal Madness, Crazy Burial, where you have a stepper, two girls with a coffin, I really do like that. And the beauty, when I met him, he gives you a card, and the card comes in a plastic ball that as childs we took out of those chew gum automats on the street, where there's a surprise in it. And in the transparent plastic ball, there was a little figure like you would put next to trains, miniature trains. And that figure was beheaded. He had a little sheet of paper as a card. It was amazing. And what I also learned about him and what I like, and so I say go to his Instagram and have a look, is that sometimes he not only generates images, he creates those objects. So they partially exist as a 3D printout. And then he photographs them and also shows it. And then I thought, wait a second, I have been looking at your Instagram account for a very long time. How many of the images I saw were generated, and how many of the images I saw were photographs of objects you generated and then 3D printed. I just love how he works and what he does, and was very great of him being here at the opening. Was one of my highlights.
And is a great way of combining the both, right? So having a
Yeah.
photograph of a generated object.
Yeah.
So,
again, we are still in the conceptual part of the exhibition, and there are more concepts here. When you just look at it, you think, what is it? Yeah, this is work by Andreas Müller-Pohle, Nietzsche Recoded, and it refers to the first photograph in the history of photography, which was a picture taking outside of a window from the French photographer Nietzsche. And what he did, he was having a conceptual work before, where he translated this old photograph into code, and then he translated this again using a generative AI. So what you have is an echo of the first photograph in history. And now it's just colors, forms, dots. I don't know if this is how I would imagine latent space, but it's a fascinating concept and also an example on how you can work conceptually with AI. Another concept up here from the Russian artist Koma, one of the big artists from the 90s that lives in New York, making fun about the art scene. So the question or the theme here is big contemporary art museums as ruins and then put in a landscape and pictured like a landscape painter would have done it in the past. So that's combining certain elements to create something new. And that's one of the strengths of AI that you can also see like in the work of Rosenberg or of Emi or here. It's combination. It's a combination of ideas. It's a combination of worlds that have not been combined in the past or ideas that have not been combined in the past. And then we are here at this iconic work, Jason M. Allen. It's the first AI-generated work that got an award and then created a media hype in 22. And that's this space opera. It was done with Midjourney in many, many single steps. It's one of the early works of Midjourney. And he tried for a long time in the United States to get copyright for this work. And he didn't. But that's an historical work now. I did a podcast with him. It was fascinating. And then I bought this image because I just wanted to have it. And yeah, it's great to look at it.
There was a huge discussion around this image. So I mean, it's really historic, right?
It is a historical image, yeah. And we only know it from the internet, but to see it in that large, beautiful print with all the artifacts that also are pointing back in time to a certain very early moment in Midjourney. I just like it.
Yeah,
so
I'm not sure if you can see that. Probably not from your angle, but someone was just writing in the chat, the picture is why I started Midjourney, and I can fully understand.
Yes. If you have time, just go. There was an American Arts Association and did a podcast with the two of us. And Jason wanted to talk about Baudrillard and philosophy, and we did. Yeah, and we tried to explain it to podcast hosts why this is all about. And Jason's influence was also very much by The Matrix, and a fascinating conversation. Yeah, so that is this iconic work, and then that's mine. Yeah, next
Another
to it,
iconic work.
much smaller. This is the image that I applied at the Sony World Photography Awards with, trying to make a test if they are aware that this is generated, and yeah, all the rest you can find on the internet and read. But what I find fascinating, and I'm going to make a work about it, is most people don't know this work in full size, because every magazine or media that published the work cut it off somewhere. Often it's reduced to the two women. Sometimes, if you are lucky, you get that hand down here. But most magazines cut off the wires here. They think it's not necessary. They just go here. Let's show the faces. But if this is an artwork, all the elements of the work are important, and you shouldn't just cut off a leg. But yeah, it was not about art. It was just giving an idea of that image. And this, for me now, is the overlapping part to another iconic work, which is photographic. That is Gone by Miles Astray, who did apply with a photograph at an AI image competition. So he did the opposite thing of what I was doing, and he also ended up upon the finalists. And so those two are complementary. It's an AI work that applied at a photo competition and a photograph that applied at an AI competition. And that kind of shows that it's not about looking at the image and knowing it's generated or it's photographed. It's impossible. And that work is 3 years nearly old. And today you could do it really photorealistic and convincing. It is about the process. It is about why people are using AI, what they would like to achieve, what they would like to express. And that exhibition here is a first attempt of mine to give people a vocabulary. And for those who work with AI, also to tell them, you don't need to fit into the box of photography. You don't need to be a new chapter of photography or illustration or whatever. It's a new way of working. It's something that can develop a language of itself and that can be used to express stuff like this work of Sabine von Bassewitz that was impossible before. And to create those things like placenta shake in the past would have been very complex. In the end, it's either photorealistic painting or you are building those models by yourself. So, yeah, that's it. Our little run through the AI part of the exhibition, and I hope you did like it.
Yeah, so I can answer this question with a definitely yes. So I'm super happy we had the chance to share this with our audience because the exhibition is not running for very much longer. And
Yeah, it's
I
the
think
last
this
night tonight.
yes. So it was the last chance to see it for everyone who didn't have the chance to go there, and I think it's really amazing. I mean, you're really is a definition of not only promptography but also photography for me. Like starting with the works from Gottfried Jäger, to really tell like what is photography, what is promptography, what is the difference. So I think this is something really amazing and worth seeing. And I'm super happy you shared. So someone was just asking if you could share the names of the artists that you mentioned before. So there is a website, if I remember correctly, and I think we can share the link.
That is on the Photo Edition Berlin webpage, but if you Google Rivals and Photo Edition Berlin, I'm sure you're going to find it. But I will also post the URL latest tomorrow morning in the recording of our live stream.
So thank you so much, Boris, for walking us through. I don't see any more questions in the chat. So if you have any, that would be the last chance to fire them off, or otherwise you can also I think add some questions as comments to the video when we post it, and we will be more than happy to jump in. So
Well, if you would like me to create more, just invite me. I'm definitely sticking to this, and the next AI exhibition is already planned in September in Johannesburg. I don't know if you know the artist Roger Bellen, but some of you might know his work for Die Antwoord, the South African band, and the I Think You Freaky video is a Roger Bellen work. So to show AI-generated work in his museum will be very fascinating because there is no limitation and no censorship, and then you can really explore different stuff. And I'm looking forward to. And we can do another run through, possibly.
yeah,
September,
absolutely.
yes. So it's a date.
So
Well,
yeah, looking forward to do the next one on your next show you're curating. And thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for watching. Good night.
Thank you. Bye bye.